It's finally over. After the longest drought between Kirby releases, I know 2 years is not that much compared to literally every other Sega franchise, but listen, we finally have a look at the future of the series. And it's a very weird yet exciting direction. Funnily enough, the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct revealed 2 new Kirby games. Kirby Air Riders, directed by Masahiro Sakurai, making his return after 22 years of never touching the series, and Kirby and the Forgotten Land Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Star Cross World. Yeah, that's official full title. The first ever paid expansion the franchise has ever seen. We don't have much information on Air Riders as we only got a small teaser and some comments here and there, so that will require a more discussion oriented video. But for the case of Star Cross World, we have a lot of info and juicy theories to go over, so let's do just that. First, it's worth pointing out that the trailer Nintendo showed in the Switch 2 Direct is different from the one later uploaded on its own. The latter has everything the former has, plus lots more footage, so let's talk about that one. The trailer starts with Kirby and Elflin riding in the Warp Star over the new world, as a mysterious heart-shaped crystal rains down from above. The crystal then explodes somewhere, throwing various other crystals to lay disaster upon the land. The treehouse footage shows some of these pieces fall into natural planes, while the trailer shows Kirby and Elflin witnessing the shockwave of the crash as it reveals a new Iceland. We actually get to see what this Iceland looks like later on in the trailer. You can spot a few seconds that it's called Fallen Star Volcano. It's worth noting that it says 2 Fallen Star Volcano, which is the same type of wording they use for other hubports like with the isolated isles, the world map, and changing between the continents. This leads me to believe it won't be just another level, but rather will have a special function. Maybe it will function as a gate requiring you to collect a little oomphies to progress, like with the Waddle Dee gates. Going back to the beginning of the trailer, we get a glimpse of the first level of this expansion, which thanks to the treehouse we know it's called Meteor Shower's Arrival. Notably, this stage functions as a remix of the very first level of the game, Arrival Point, which seems to be the trend with all the levels. They all start normally but with some added crystal effects here and there until the level completely changes directions. This first look tells us a bit of how the power of these crystal meteors works, as when they land, they transform the world around them, upgrading enemies to be tougher and changing star coins into what I like to call crystal coins, which function as their own currency for yet unknown reasons. Curiously, star coins will still be found across these levels, and they remain separate from these new crystal coins. And god bro, let me stop being a nerd and just glaze for a second here. Oh my god, this game, it's so fucking beautiful, man. And it runs so smooth and Treehouse commentator mentioned the game will now be at 60 FPS, which you might not tell from this video, but if you look at the footage on its own, you can feel it from miles away. I don't particularly feel like 30 FPS was a downside on the original, but dude, when you get a taste of that higher frame rate, the original just starts to look sluggish in comparison. Another change introduced with the Switch 2 edition will be a higher resolution, 1080p for handheld and 4040p for docked. Still not 4K Kirby action, but oh well, it is what it is. By the analysis, we can see that every time Kirby enters these new blue areas, he gets a slight shine and outline, as well as an effect when you enter and exit the areas. From everything we have seen, this just looks like some visual flair, but it's worth pointing out that the new crystal coins only appear in these special blue areas, meaning that other elements may be affected by it. Not really from a gameplay perspective, but more from a story one. The trailer then goes on to show some other levels affected by the meteor shower, starting off with Abandoned Beach from Everbay Coast. From other pieces of gameplay, we can see that hitting these flowers will open up new paths. Maybe hitting this one will make the sea open like we can see later on. After that, we have The Waste Where Life Began from Original Wasteland, another remix section based on that level's first screen. Not all from this scene is the lonely hothead on top of the boat. I just think he looks silly. Moving from that, we have what appears to be Northeast Frostry from Winterhorns. For a second I thought it was Battle Bridge because of, well, the bridge, but the surrounding build is much closer to the first level in the world, which seems to be another trend. All these levels are the first of their respective worlds, the difference here being that this shot looks like a completely new path and not a remix like the previous scenes. Worth noting is the copyability in this place. They are and Twin Drill. Hammer is notable because you go unlock it after beating the game, which is a great point to the theory that this whole new content is only accessible post-game, but the Waddle Dee math doesn't really line up. More on that later. The first level trend breaks in the next scene as we see the opening of Moonlight Cannon remixed. Notable aspects of this shot is another one of those flowers and the great amount of Gigatsas, further proving that this is a post-game area with how much more difficult it is from the base levels. We return to Arrival Point as we are shown how the crystal flowers work. Once activated, the expanded blue areas can transform the levels around you, with the small ones being activated like pop flowers, meaning you can just run into them, while the big ones requiring a hit to be activated, and do much more drastic changes. That is, after a small segment showing a remix Conquer the Inferno Road from Redguard Forbidden Lands. The only special thing here is we can see clearly that the enemies also get a little shine outline when entering the blue areas. Next up is Arrival Mall. From the Treehouse gameplay we can see where the arrival point starts and ends, so unlike Forgo Dreams where there's one big level per world, it seems here we'll have 2 crystal levels per world. I'll explain later why I think we will only have 2. The next few scenes show the moments where the levels greatly change from their base counterparts, making a stairway at the entrance of the mall, a path coming from the rocket at Welcome to Wonderia, which we know from the Treehouse is now called Crossing Wonderia, another spiral staircase at the end of the first screen of Northeast Frost Street, and my personal favorite change, a meteor crashing down, opening the sea, letting us walk on the coral that was once underwater. A beautiful set piece if I can glaze a little here. After some more basic arrival point gameplay, we see a comeback from everyone's favorite mechanic, Mouthful Mode. We see Sister Leaf Mouth in what appears to be fast-flowing waterfalls. Damn, they're really going after all the fan favorite stages, aren't they? What is more shocking to see is this right here, a cyan capsule. We have a blue capsule collection already in the game, but this one is just slightly different enough for me to think we are getting a whole new volume of figures, most likely containing all the new characters and new crystal forms of enemies. Update. Thanks to some demo footage we can confirm that yes, this will be a whole new volume of figures. Do pay attention to how it's called EX Volume 1. Maybe we will get more volumes? Also, look at this funny description, Boing Boing High? Oh, it's cinema. After that, we see the return of the GOAT, Snowman Puzzles. These first appear in Triple X where you had to use Hypernova to get into the right bodies. This time, it seems we'll be using Ring Mouth to get to their bodies. This time, instead of bouncing around and placing shit, it seems that we'll activate one of those crystal thingies that changes the level. Looking around, we can see this seems to be the end of one of those levels. That giant crystal orb is the equivalent of the golden Waddle Dee cage, as we can see from the Treehouse footage. What I want to look at is this background. It matches Windy Freezing Seas, meaning that this level might be the second stage from Winter Horns. Moving on, we see our first brand new Mouthful Mode, Spring Mouth, letting us high jump to reach high ledges with jump button and smash down enemies with the attack button. Once again following the tradition of Mouthful Mode of taking, let's call inspiration, from classic Kirby abilities. I mean, they literally call it high jump, so they're not even hiding it. The Treehouse mentions Mouthful Modes in plural, suggesting this won't be the only Mouthful Mode transformation. They then go on to show the new Spring Mouth in a section of Crossing Wonderia. The Treehouse stopped before getting to this point, but it's clearly taken from the water balloon section of the base game. Looking at the ground below, we can see it's actually the end of the level as we can once again see the big crystal. Next shot shows Cone Mouth entire life purpose be shared in a second as Spring Mouth takes quick work of a crystal turtle wielding. Yes, that's his name, look it up. Afterwards, we see the beginning of the remix form of Enter the Fiery Forbidden Land from Redguard Volcano. Nothing special aside just how cool and awesome and raw it looks, but with this we now know every level that will be changed, aside from the second level of Wonderia. Again, wait a second until I can explain why I think it's only 2 levels. The next important scene is Kirby fighting a special version of Florina. Thanks to the Treehouse, we know these forms are called Crystal. It's great to see the new mini-bosses get an upgrade, as despite there being easier and harder version of all mini-bosses in the base game, visually they all look the same. This follows more the way other Kirby bosses handle their stronger version like with EX or 2.0. I think it's safe to assume all mini-bosses will get the same treatment as, again, we see Crystal Frosted with a much faster and more aggressive moveset, which aligns up with Crystal Florina's 5 different tornadoes attacks that we see here. My best guess as to where this plays out is Abandoned Beach because of the walls and the surrounding enemies being water themed. Now, will this affect normal bosses? We will still have to see. Okay, now finally we can talk about these Oomfies. These rip-off Lumas are called Starries, and they will serve as the captured Wild Dees of this adventure. Just like those Wild Dees, you can either find them on the open trapped in crystals or unlocked after completing certain missions. Thanks to the Treehouse, we can see the types of missions are not too far off from the base game. Collect the shiny things, don't get hit, reach the specific ledge, stuff like that. Okay, now I can talk about my 2-level theory. Let's closely look at the Treehouse footage counting up all the hidden stars in level 1. You get 9 in total. Later on, we get a glimpse of the map. We can see a lot of special little elements. For one, the remix levels will be accessed right alongside their base game counterpart, which is why it's so important to mention where all these levels are based on. Second, the crystal coins are indeed in their own separate currency, maybe usable on this funny looking Waddle Dee? More on him later. But finally, on the bottom right we see the total Waddle Dees and Stairways the world has, with there being 20 stairs in Wonderia. Seeing how that's almost half of what this one level has and how regular Forgotten Land levels have a similar amount of Waddle Dees with a variance of just 1 or 2, I strongly believe this means we will only get 2 levels per world, which lines up with everything we've seen so far. We have seen 2 different levels from every world, except for Wonderia, so it's fair to say that's going to be the formula this time around. And speaking of the map, Notice the Waddle Dee count? 92 is an awfully low amount for this to be post-game. Assuming this save file is just doing the bare minimum to progress, this would put us after Winterhorns but before the Sildilo fight. Noticing how Elflin is still with us, this gameplay map has not gone past the first DDD fight, as we lose Elflin for the remaining of the main story there. With how the overall level design looks and seeing how many shots with above copy abilities they are, my best guess that this whole star crossroll will be something you unlock over time as your normal adventure progresses. Notice how the treehouse footage showed this additional cut of the opening showing how the meteors are landing on natural planes? Perhaps after collecting a certain amount of Waddle Dees or Starries, you unlock the next set of levels, triggering a small cutscene similar to this one. That's my theory at least. Going back to the Unfi cutscene, we can see what looks like to be an astronomical Waddle Dee. There was speculation this could be Bandana Dee, but from the treehouse footage we can tell that his iconic blue bandana has received no changes. I believe this whole interaction is taking part of the Fallen Star Island we saw earlier. It would make sense that after Kirby and Evelyn first see the meteor crash, they explore this new island, in which they meet both the Starries and this Waddle Dee, giving us a reason for rescuing the Starries. As I mentioned before, they could also be where we spend our crystal coins, as the backpack looks like it could easily contain a small shop. Back to the trailer, we have our final noteworthy thing on it. Yeah, the car section on Redguard looks sick, but there's nothing too important there. Who the fuck is this guy? We see him twice. Once here in the trailer as part of Abandoned Beach, and another time in the treehouse gameplay. He works as some sort of mini boss, stronger than a regular enemy that only appears at the end of enemy gauntlets, but has no health bar nor name. He is a formidable foe, summoning meteors to attack you, creating crystal pillars, and teleporting around the arena. He looks different from any enemy we've seen before. Doesn't look like he comes from Dreamland, nor does he look like he comes from the Beast Pack. Is this our big hint into who's behind all this? It sure as hell isn't the Beast Pack again. We already discussed this more likely has no correlation with the main story, and while they are affected by this whole crystal transformation, they don't seem to do it on purpose, more so a byproduct of being around. Perhaps they're being corrupted by it? Which is a great transition to my game theory aspect of this video. Let's talk about this crystal heart from the beginning, the catalyst of this whole adventure. Seems familiar? It might be a coincidence, but there's a very big one. It's almost the exact same setup as the Jamba Hearts from Star Allies, a big crystal hearts coming from space that shatters and spread around, corrupting everything and everyone it touches. The board even emit a purple aura once split. The big difference being that this crystal seems to be more powerful, completely altering the terrain and creating new paths, compared to the Jamba Heart which only affected main characters. Maybe we are looking at the wrong place. What about these crystals from another dimension? Almost a one-to-one with how they look in Star Cross World. And if we're going on that route, what about Galactonite's crystal prison? Doesn't it sound awfully similar to how the Starries are captured? The original game made Morphonite a bigger part of the whole Kirby lore, as his appearance in Forgotten Land is more canon than anything Galactonite has done. So maybe it's his time to shine now. Or what if, and this is my wildest one yet, what if this is all related to Shiverstar? We know Forgotten Land takes a lot of inspiration from Kirby 64, from the whole post-apocalyptic aesthetic to something as small as the dead sound effects, so I don't think it's far off to think the two wouldn't share any more similarities. Maybe this would explain the fate of Shiverstar. What if this new group of enemies are part of the Ancients trying to reclaim their Forgotten Land? Okay, calm down, now I'm just saying shit to say shit. But I am really excited for this game. We could talk about more about the treehouse footage, but aside from what we already talked about, the rest is just proof of how the level design will work around these new gimmicks. I think that whole discussion should be saved for when the game actually comes out, but from the small glimpses we are seeing, I'm getting heavy Forgo Dreams vibes, as in, it definitely has a stronger focus on its platforming and puzzle elements compared to how relaxed the main levels can be. Thankfully, it will come with some jaw-dropping visuals to go alongside it. That about wraps up this whole analysis. That is, aside from the whole disaster that is the price, $80 whole? I understand that it's the price of the original game plus 20 for the Switch 2 edition with the DLC, but like, come on, this is a 3-year-old game. It should be 40 by now plus 20 of the DLC, turning back up to 60. The whole situation in Nintendo prices with the Switch 2 is already a hot mess with lots of misinfo and finger pointing going around, so I wouldn't blame the game itself for this absurd price. Thankfully, you can buy the expansion in stone if you already own Forgotten Land. For my 2 levels per wall theory, that would mean a minimum of 12 new stages plus all the new enhancements from the Switch 2 like the resolution and frame rate bump. Is that worth 20? We will see. But personally speaking, I'm jumping from joy knowing one of the best Kirby games, if not one of the best platformers ever made, is getting a zero compromise version where it can truly shine as the masterpiece that it is. But that's what I think. What do you guys think about Kirby and the Forgotten Land Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Star Cross World? We really need a better name, man. Are you excited? Are you going to buy a Switch 2 for it? Or think maybe the prices are a little too crazy to justify as of now? Tell me all that and more in the comments below. And while you're down there, why not hit the like and subscribe button for more videos like this one? You know, we have to have a deep and uncomfortable talk about that topic. So make sure you don't miss it. But that's all from me, and I'll see you on the next ride.